It is July 20th, 2:48 a.m. Let me take a seat. All right. I uploaded the demo today, the new version of the demo with my new logo. Excuse me. I ended up making one small change, which was that I got rid of the ChatGPT AI art version of it. And so it is now instead using the original logo that I put together myself with just some small edits on it, because I felt like, I don't know, I felt like the AI one was a little too nice, a little too looking like an old scroll, but too kind of like polished at the same time. I don't know. So I feel like my original note looked the best, which I'll quickly show you. It's pretty much the same thing I showed yesterday, but anyway, pretty sweet. So that's done. I also emailed two publishers, Astrolabe and Arabit, something like that. Both of these guys were specifically Asian market publishers. And I saw them, I was going through like my publisher contacts, and I was thinking that probably to maximize my sales in Asian markets, like especially China and Japan, a publisher would be super helpful there. I made a video before where I mentioned looking at Bilibili and other Asian websites that would normally be used to popularize your game, but I can't get access to those unless I have a Chinese cell phone number. So I kind of ran out of options there. So yeah, it seemed like these guys were my best bet. These guys had contacted me previously around the time when I first announced the game. So this is like 7 months ago or something. I said 7 months. Damn. Yeah, like 7 to 8 months ago. At the time, I responded to one of them, but was just kind of like, yeah, I'm not really looking for a publisher right now. And I didn't think too much of it. But yeah, now that I have a lot of wish lists coming from Asia, I decided to take a look at all the other publishers who had sent me emails, and Astrolabe and Arabit, that's what it's called, seem to be the most promising. Like, they've got a solid amount of followers and a pretty good collection of games that have all sold 50, 25, 50, 100,000 copies. So, seems promising. Hopefully they won't mind that it took me 7 months to get back to them. But I mean, my game's arguably doing better now than it was even before then. Plus, I told them in the email how a quarter of my wish lists are all coming from Asia now. So hopefully they'll get back in touch with me after the weekend. What else did I do? Did I do much of anything else? Oh, yes. So the other major thing I did today was I wrote out a script. I was kind of inspired today. Inspiration hit me when it came to new ideas for how I can go about doing my TikTok shorts and my YouTube shorts and whatever, just shorts that I can post everywhere. So I ended up coming up with a whole bunch of ideas. Each of these is a script for a different idea I had. My idea behind this was to make like really short, fast videos, like 10 seconds long each, that hits some kind of philosophical topic maybe that's somehow related to the game, and to do it somewhat in the character of Genyu at the same time. And hopefully by making them punchy and to the point enough, and also making it that I can edit them well, since they're only 10 seconds long, it shouldn't be a problem to be able to do some good edits on that. I'm able to get some decent engagement on it. So we'll see. So I wrote all those out today, and then I created the actual first one, and I'm pretty happy with it. Actually, I think I can quickly show it here. Violence short, yeah.
A lot of people complain about violence in art. Why are video games so violent? Because violence is fun. That's why my game is full of it, and I don't want to hear anybody crying about it, especially not you.
Yeah, so stuff like that. That's the first one, probably also the cheesiest one that I wrote. But hopefully just short enough and engaging enough and to the point enough that I can easily pump these out and get a decent amount of engagement. Now we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna keep it up. It's never easy to tell just from one video. So I'm gonna do all of these that I've written out so far and see how they all work out, and then at the end do an assessment of like, okay, which performed the best, what elements of the ones that perform the best seem to actually get people to engage with it and whatnot. We'll see how it goes. I'm not 100% sure. Like, I kept trying to think about how can I tie in the way that I want to brand myself as like the philosopher game dev, if you will, and tie that into this game and tie it into videos for my game. And it's like really tricky to do. So anyway, some of the scripts I came up with here are relevant. But yeah, there's still, I don't know, there's still a bit like a little tongue-in-cheek, to the point, kind of in your face attitude wise, which for a standard promotional material for a game like this is perfect. I mean, it fits the characters and the tone and everything, but I was really wondering if there's a way I can come up with stuff that's more intelligently examining something, you know, intelligently examining a philosophical subject and then somehow tying it into the game. Something, because I feel like that would be something, like what I'm doing here isn't, I don't know, I don't see it too often, but it's pretty straightforward promotional stuff. Whereas I really wonder if I can come up with some way to capture that philosophical essence I want to go for, write more deeper, more clever things. Not even clever, just whatever, more thoughtful. Let's put it that way. And make videos out of that can stand out as unique. And in the long run, I can make that my thing and iterate on that and get better at that. But it's, yeah, I don't know. It's like every time I go to write, I end up writing this like comedic attitude type stuff. It comes so naturally to me, especially with this game. So I think I'm going to do all these, and then I think I'm going to see how those perform. If it does well, then all right, whatever, I'll stick with this style for now. But otherwise, I also want to try experimenting with like really forcing myself to come up with some kind of philosophical style of doing these videos instead. Did I say? No, actually, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, so that was my focus for today. That's pretty much all I did. Now that I uploaded the demo, tomorrow I can finally get to working on level 5 again. Get those archers all planned out. As you can see, it's very up and down. The whole process, very, very up and down. Some days you're extremely productive, other days you're not productive at all, and then generally speaking, it results in taking things longer than you expected them to. But I'm feeling good. Feeling pretty good about things right now. Don't quote me on that. You ride the wave with me. You know, I was thinking my life, this roller coaster that I'm riding right now, it's like a sine wave, you know, it's up and down. I'd like to think right now we're kind of like, we're in the middle of a, what would you call it? An ascension, in the middle of ascending up the peak of the sine curve. Soon we will be at the peak, and then the goal is to sustain it for as long as possible. Okay. Yeah, other than that, I got nothing. I'm just waiting on those publishers to get back to me on Monday. It's continuing to work. Wish list numbers, I did check them out because I was curious. I was really curious to see what's happening with the numbers right now that plays of my demo have gone down and all my social media stuff is kind of baselined now, or flatlined, I should say, after that video went viral. And I've had a couple days now where it's like 22 one day, 15 the next, which is pretty weak. So definitely important that I figure out how to get this stuff going. I absolutely, it is crucial that I need to find a formula, some consistent means by which I know how to make good videos. It's still my biggest weakness, and I feel like if I can just figure that out, it will unlock so much potential for me. Sitting at just under 8,500 wish lists now. And like I said, my goal is to hit 10,000 by the end of the summer. So really need to hit that hard. I did also have a few, I'm gonna be in August, gonna try another round of reaching out to like streamers and whatnot. And I also did notice that when my video went viral, there were a couple people in there who themselves were streamers and who said that they were really interested and that they wanted to cover it when they get a chance. So maybe something will come of that as well. And if these publishers get on board with me, especially for the Asia stuff, and hopefully they give me some kind of decent deal, or even just get back to me at all, I'd like to think that that could also help really put me over the line by the end of the summer as well. So yeah, that's it for the game for today. A quick word. I had this topic in mind that I wanted to discuss, which was two things actually. So I'm gonna do like a prelude to this topic, but not quite discuss it today, which is what my spiritual / religious beliefs are, and how they impact me, and the extent to which my games are related to that. So I don't believe, I'm not going to go like super deep into this. I think I'm going to leave this for another video, but essentially I don't belong to any organized religion, and I don't believe in anything superstitious. I just believe that in a kind of in a metaphysical way, almost like how so in mathematics, the way math works is you have a certain set of premises, of axioms, and as long as you accept those, you can derive everything else from it. And that's how the basis of all of math works. I similarly believe that morality is based on a certain premise that exists naturally in every conscious being. And so because of that, I believe there's a universal morality. Now, I don't think it's exactly the same as math in the sense that you can calculate what the right thing to do is in any given situation. But I do believe, I do believe that there is nonetheless a right answer, so to speak, but our ability to achieve that is limited by the fact that we're animals, and that and I mentioned this in a previous video when I did a whole argument about abortion, but essentially that we're restricted by what we're actually able to do in practice, like just as animals and the things we have to do to survive in the world, that this limits our ability to live out this kind of platonic ideal that universal morality is like. Because that's kind of how I think of morality, is that there is like a right answer to things, but oftentimes we either have a hard time seeing what it is because of our own self-interests, which are not always in line with that, or we're not able to do that thing even when we do know what it is, also because we have our own self-interests as animals that prevents us from doing things like that. Sometimes to preserve yourself as a physical being, you have to do things that are not necessarily the morally perfect thing to do. So anyway, that way of looking at the world has largely influenced my whole direction in life, and it's exploring this idea and how everything about my perspective relies around it. That is sort of what I want all of my artistic works to revolve around. Six Samurai is somewhat unique insofar as this was a game primarily motivated by the fact that I need to make money off of my next project. So this one was not so much, I have like a whole list of games I know I want to make, and they all relate to this grander project, if you will. Six Samurai is sort of, it is personal to me, and the narrative idea behind it is something that is, it's personal to me, but that's the thing. It's very, very personal and specific to me, and not as much tied to my moral philosophy or even my philosophy in general, except insofar as it's related to things I'm going through right now more than anything in my life, and how I'm dealing with those things and what kind of conclusions I'm coming to about that. So it's not directly connected, but now that I think about it, I'm probably going to think a lot more about how to intertwine it into the narrative, because I have an idea for a pretty drastic conclusion to the game's story that I've had since the beginning, and I've been recently thinking about how I might modify it based on certain choices you make in the game, but also Yeah. It's hard, man. It's hard to insert morality into something where like the whole basis of the game is you're killing people. it's, it's like it kind of undermines any sort of moral point you're trying to make, you know. So it's tricky, and that's also why fundamentally the nature of this game is more about a personal journey about authenticity is what the main theme really is, and not so much about morals. But I don't know. Maybe I'll find some way of tying it all together. Anyway. So yeah, that's the basis of all my stuff. That is also where my developer pseudonym company name comes from, Solidio. So the great Johann Sebastian Bach used to sign his compositions with the initials, not initials, but I don't know, like the acronym SDG, which in Latin is Soli Deo Gloria, I believe. And that means glory to God alone. So I do believe in God, but again, it's not God in the way how most people oftentimes talk about God. And again, no superstitions involved, and I don't really believe that God intervenes in the world in any way. But nonetheless, I do believe in God, and I believe it is intricately tied in with my beliefs in the universal morality that we have that's in each of us because of our consciousness. And yeah. So ironically, and this is where now today I was thinking about this and why I'm conflicted and why I really feel like I need to pivot into this philosophy thing with how I'm branding myself. Because I just went out there when I first started doing this stuff trying to sell my personality, thinking I'm like a kind of a wacky, goofy guy. that should be something that can help sell my game. But really, if I'm trying to be focused and disciplined here, and what this is all about is I think I need to be more focused on that philosophical branding. And the irony here is how in my goofiness and in the way I've been doing things, I'm very boastful, egotistical, whatever. And those are natural parts of my personality, partly tongue in cheek. But the problem is my original name, even Solidio, glory to God alone. Like, so that's how I came up with the word, right? I wanted something that sounded like a proper name, so I put the Soli and Deo parts together, and that's how I came up with Solidio. And I thought, like, oh, that's cool. It kind of sounds almost like a Greek philosopher's name or something like that. So that's why I came up with that. But the fact of the origin of that name is, and the whole point of it, the idea is recognizing how I'm not responsible for any greatness that I might have or any gifts that I might have, right? Like, insofar as I have any talents, it's because I happen to be born that way. Insofar as I even have the opportunity to be doing what I'm doing, it's because I happen to be born into certain conditions. So there's a way in which anything I make is really not because of me, whatever me even is exactly. It's because of, well, in the most ultimate sense, because of God, because of how the universe happens to have set itself up, so to speak. And so a big part of that, of course, is the humility that comes with that, and therefore the undermining of your own ego, and therefore the great irony of the fact that I've been making all these YouTube videos, these goofy ass YouTube videos, where I'm like super egotistical. So the more I thought about this today, the more I was like, yeah, I'm really haven't been disciplined and focused about how I'm presenting myself and how I'm branding myself. Now, I don't want to hide that all away. I don't want to go through my old videos and start deleting things or anything like that. I want to put it all out there and show the full journey and all of that. But this is, I think, in line with what I was thinking about last night when I mentioned how I needed to do a pivot with this stuff, is that this is the attitude I need to pivot into. This is the style I want to try to get into. It is just so tricky to find a creative way to mix this together with the games, because gaming is just not that serious in a certain sense. You know what I mean? Its origin is as a product of entertainment. But I want to do something more than that. And then now I am making something that is at least a little bit more for fun, just because I knew I needed to make some money so I can keep going. And that's why I picked this project as my next one. So how do I tie this all together? And how do I sell myself in this way? And how do I make that clear and all that, you know? So this is a great challenge. But yeah, so there you go. And there's my preface all on my beliefs and where I'm coming from with all this and what I'm trying to do. And I will, in a future video, maybe tomorrow, I don't know, we'll see how I feel. I'll go into more detail about how I came to my beliefs and I don't know, the reasoning behind it, if you will. But yeah, in a big way, everything in my life, it revolves around this belief, and everything else about me, I feel like is, and this is the struggle. This is where the part where I'm like, where I've been struggling with myself a lot, and especially all those videos I made talking about how easily people can get under my skin when I'm reading stuff on the internet, and I want to talk shit back to them, and I can be kind of vengeful and egotistical like that. And all these things are totally counter to the deeper, more fundamental thing of who I want to be and what I feel my purpose is here and what I'm trying to accomplish. So yeah, so I think all this plays a big part in many of my struggles, in me being confused about things and feeling bad about things. So yeah, man, I think this is just another challenge to my discipline. I need to discipline myself to really act like the person I want to be, the person I feel I am meant to be. And that will also require me to discipline myself with regards to how I start doing my branding. I have to learn to really control my image. But this will not be easy. It's a lot of habits I need to overcome, a lot of ways of thinking and speaking. And most difficult of all, perhaps. Well, no, it's probably not the hardest. The hardest part is definitely changing myself. But the second hardest is figuring out how exactly I'm going to tie these things all together and brand myself like that. But when there's a will, there's a way, right?